Personally, I have been a tech founder for last 13 years of my life, and this is the 14th one. So for me, technology was never a hurdle, but rather a strength. Namaste, my name is Ayush, and I welcome you to the second episode of Godspeed Lightening Talks. Personally, I have been a tech founder for last 13 years of my life, and this is the 14th one. So for me, technology was never a hurdle, but rather a strength, because I could personally build anything myself and with my team. But there are many founders in the world who do not know technology, and today's topic is on the same. It is the journey of a non-tech founder in making a tech startup. And we have a special guest with me today for this podcast, and he is Sanket Shendure, a very young person of only 26 years of age who has already built a startup, raised funding, and even made an exit. So I welcome you to meet Sanket, my good friend as well, who is visiting from Bangalore to our Godspeed office and center in Dharamshala, Himachal Pradesh. And Sanket, it's amazing to have you around.
Hey Ayush, thanks for having me here. To all of you, I'm Sanket here, co-founder at Minko. Just to give you a idea about my journey, I am grown up in a family based out of Goa, which has been involved into FMCG distribution business for last 4 decades. It's like a 3-generation old family business. While growing up, I have seen the journey of entrepreneurship right from my home because of the family business. And at the same point of time, I was pretty clear while I was doing my college, I would like to start something of my own. And one of the most important things which took me to that direction is when I was doing my bachelor's in computer applications in Goa University. I was actually going through one documentary on History TV 18 of Steve Jobs, which opened my eyes towards one of the very powerful statements which Steve Jobs said in that, which is the kind of thing what you would like to build in this world, can it make a dent in the universe even after you? And that is something which even today brings me back to that point of how you are meaningfully utilizing the knowledge, the wisdom, and the abilities what you have to create an impact around you. Building Minko as a pivoted version of MinksPay as a buy now pay later solution in a B2B category where we try to power a transaction with the underlying instrument of invoice acts as a proof of transaction, and you're trying to power that invoice with the power of credit of 20 days, 30 days, whatever it is. And this is the way how we were able to build Minko. First product, we were able to take it out in the market. In initial 6 months, we got an amazing response with the beta users. We rolled it out and were able to scale it from just again like initial 50 odd SMEs to more than 2000 plus SMEs in just matter of 1.5 years. Okay. And we were able to like disburse more than 60 crore rupees, which is equivalent of close to around $8 million on our platform, with just around 45-50 odd different brands and 200 different distributors of these brands who are using our product to power 2000 plus SMEs credit on our platform, right? And we partnered with more than 4 to 5 financial institutions, or NBFCs, who are able to give credit in the background, because you need a balance sheet or so-called a NBFC license or a financial institution license to deploy money in the market. What we were trying to do is just become a meaningfully great enabler or aggregator in between someone who needs credit, someone who is ready to deploy credit, and building a meaningful product between them, which is more seamless and hassle-free than the traditional business loan and term loan and all those ODCC products what we see today. So this is the way how we were able to evolve as a product, and at the end, like, we also ended up raising like more than $1.6 million from likes of Kunal Shah, Let's Venture, one of the micro VC fund, then even one of the VC fund which was started by ex Norwest MD in India, right? So these are the guys who funded our first seed round. As we are trying to scale up, as one of the unfortunate things in Indian market is the regulatory changes, right? And in 2022 end, there is new digital lending guidelines which was implemented by Reserve Bank of India, RBI, impacted us very badly in terms of the core business model on which we were trying to build this business on. And this is where was one of the areas where we tried to figure out if there can be way out of how we can still continue using that same business model which we were trying to do, but because if you have to fit into the compliance, you can't continue with that business model, and that is one of the reason why we thought of sunsetting that product and then actually selling it off to another company which might be able to use it. So this is the overall journey about Minko and the overall product.
Now coming to product development, right? So being a non-tech founder yourself, I am really curious that how were you able to build both these products with such agility and on a shoestring budget to start with?
So again, I would say yes, I am a non-technical founder, at least in the journey. But in terms of the qualification, if you ask me, I have done my computer applications from Goa University, where I know bits and pieces about how tech works, right? And that helped me, whatever in a shape and form in my journey of, I'm not completely blindfolded about how tech works, right? I'm aware about what are the things, how does the back end works, how does the front end works, how do you ship an application, how does it impacts, all those things. But these few things made me very much aware and conscious about the set of engineers whom I will need to bring in the team to build the kind of product what we need to ship. And at the same point of time, I was trying to build one of my initial tech teams while starting the journey of 1 or 2 people team. That was the time, the only approach what I followed was reaching out either to your seniors or either to someone in your network who has built tech, who has a certain level of experience. So my journey started with picking up someone who was 1 year senior to me in my college, was someone who has been in touch with me even at the time of the SV.co program and has meaningfully contributed to the initial set of assignments and experiments what we are doing at SV.co. Okay, and that was something where he was the one who helped me start with Minkspace journey, building a lot of products from scratch.
So he was not a very seasoned developer, he was also beginner-like.
Beginner-like, but just 1 year senior to me, had certain level of hunger about being a techie and writing code. He was able to be an instrumental part of the starting up journey, kickstart the product, right? So he kickstarted the product. In initial few months, he was able to contribute meaningfully, but eventually he realized the kind of burnout what early stage journey of startup brings to you is not something where it's everyone's cup of tea. And I think so. It's always better to accept the things at the early stage. Okay, and he decided to part the ways at that point of time. Because he was unable to go through that entire burnout, and
so it was too much load for him
to navigate out of the situation. Might be because he has never done it before.
Correct.
Right.
Because of lack of experience. And
yes. Okay.
Figuring out things on your own can be very difficult.
Very difficult.
And especially if we are going back to which year?
2017-18.
17-18. So that time there was not even such AI tools or low-code, no-code
Nothing.
tools.
Yes.
Well, there were low-code, no-code, but not so popular.
Not so popular and not so as seamless as possible today.
Correct.
Right.
And
yes.
people were, still working in Node.js and Django, and
Agreed.
You would write things from scratch.
Yes.
All right.
And that was a time when we chose a initial framework of Laravel, which is a PHP framework to build backend, and use Vue.js to build our web frontend, and native Android for shipping the Android app experience, right? And these are few things which we considered, and then EC2 instances of AWS to deploy this thing, and not going with a low code solution or something like that, or even like a serverless
Laravel
services.
is kind of a low code solution in a way, right?
In a way, yeah, there are a lot of things.
Lots of integrations come
come
out of
out of that box.
Right.
There are a lot of things. Auth is solved for this thing.
Correct.
Then there are so many connections and other CRUD operations are in a
They're
way
solved
for you, right? So that is something which helped them in a meaningful way to kickstart the journey.
Correct. So now going forward in the journey, so with respect to product and tech in this overlapping area, what were your biggest, let's say, problems or pains or the gaps that you faced in your journey?
One of the very important things is about in the tech, to be very precise, is getting a right person in the team, right? Like someone who has done this before, someone whom you can equally relate. I mean, that person can equally relate to the vision what you are trying to build for, and is equally reliable enough to sustain in the journey at least for a few years. I'm not talking forever, but at least for a few years, right? Like that sense of ownership is someone whom he is able to get that approach across the team. Okay, that is first part, which I think was one of the very important things as a hurdle which I faced in the very initial journeys, because being a first time founder, I didn't know how to build the right teams first, right? It's all about learning approach. Probably go through all the mistakes, rectify those mistakes when you're doing it for the second time. That's the same approach which I have followed so far, at least while building the tech teams, right? Second is, getting a right person in the team, because there are only two approaches which I knew back then when I started. Either you figure out a person from your own personal network, maybe from your seniors, alumni, or someone whom you have already worked with before, or else either you put it up as a posting on AngelList or LinkedIn, or probably any other hiring platform where you get ample amount of applications. But again, you have not actually build that foundation of trust to get him as the first person of the tech team, right? So these are two hurdles what I saw, at least for that first point of getting a right person in the team. So, but I went ahead with referral as the first this thing.
Correct. So basically, as you know, a non-tech founder, and don't get me wrong about it, you have a background in technology, but not as an active tech founder,
yeah,
right? It was not your active area, it
yes.
was not your main skill or profession,
yes.
correct? So, it's quite understandable. I think the first thing this person will look for is how do I get my solution built, right? And then you either need somebody to join forces for the long term, and sometimes people don't find such a person immediately.
Very true.
So then they go to an agency or some freelancers to
Absolutely.
fill the gap, and in hope that they will eventually find such a person, but let the business move on.
Right.
So the first gap is finding the right person actually.
Right person. Totally is.
You eventually
and that's where you end up figuring out more freelancers who will build that
MVP
for you, or else a very small agency will build it in a budget.
Correct.
Right. But the downside to it is about who will maintain and manage it if your MVP is successful.
Correct.
And how you will scale it, right? Because technically you can't rely on that same set of people who helped you in that initial phase. Very rarely it happens that they are still there with you, even at a longer scale, right? Like one of the very most successful and renowned examples which I can give here is Physics Wala. Alak Pandey was someone who was a teacher at heart, is a non-techie founder, started YouTube channel, built his entire amazing set of audience and students who were following him for actually cracking their personal aspirations of learning. Okay, he was amazing at it. One person who was able to go to him, approach him, build his initial app as an agency, delivered it in such a way that it happened to be his first MVP which worked, eventually, as he went to a scale, that same agency built an app for him, and eventually that agency was someone who got merged with Physics Wala as an entity, and the founder of that agency became the CTO of that company, right? So even very rare scenarios happen, something like
Yes, of course, it is totally possible that technically also they were able to deliver well,
Correct.
make a good solution. They also fit within the budget, and there was a good relationship going on.
The visions are aligned.
The visions are aligned. So the details being secondary, you continue to work together. So in the end, Physics Wala found is the right person.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
To build the product.
Right.
So this is, let's say, the first hurdle you faced, and many such founders there are facing, is finding the right partner or the main tech lead who will help you build your product, right? So we can call it the talent hurdle.
Talent hurdle.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
And also talent hurdle starts throughout. It's not just with the first person, but then the whole team you build along.
Yes. So even that comes along with it, because even if you get an initial set of engineer who will be able to write a code for you, are not the ones who will help you build a powerful team. Because there are two sets of people. There are
two kinds of
leaders, like who build more leaders, and second kind of leaders are the who build more followers, right? Like the idea is about maybe they are not just very open about passing on that same knowledge, culture, the secrets of how they were able to grow, okay. Maybe insecure about a lot of things, okay. And at least in my personal opinion, these are the few things which I have experienced in them. And there are other set of people who want a lot of things to be more liberal now. They create more leaders in the team. They are more people-centric people. That's how I would say, right? Like they build more developers of their same, to bring up to their capability, so that tomorrow, if under their absence, they can lead the whole team. That is the kind of approach what they follow, right? And that is very important in early stage startups, like 0 to 1, 1 to 10 journey. And the moment you talk about like few larger companies, of course, since there is a hierarchy, there is inherent insecurity about the way how people have, how much years people have worked into that segment. It might bring that kind of biased approach into what kind of leadership approach what they are following.
Okay, yeah. So some people are naturally a people's leader. They inspire more leadership.
Yes.
And every person has probably both the skills, and maybe in different balance. But one is to inspire other people.
Yes.
And to upskill them, to hone them, to train them, right? To make them come forward and rise. And the second kind of skill we require in such a leader is personal technical strength.
Right.
That how good you are in technology, how good your knowledge is, how much of a hacker mindset you yourself have. In the sense, not like making bad kind of hacks, but figuring out the solution and solving it in a good way. So that kind of skill, hands-on skill as we call it, right? So definitely every technical leader, I think, especially for early stage startup, it is extremely important. You need a hands-on person.
Very true.
Uncompromisable. You don't need a people's manager or a leader right now.
Very true.
Maybe when you are 50, 40 people growing strong engineering company, then you need such people with more of those skills.
Right.
But initially you need the hackers.
Absolutely.
And then that becomes a very difficult thing to achieve. We're talking about the first hurdle of talent hurdle.
Right.
Finding the right kind of talent with right knowledge, right mindset is a very difficult.
Right. And just to add to that point, right, like one thing which I have realized in this is the set of people who were able to help you in 0 to 1 journey. There are 3 journeys primarily a startup has to go through. 0 to 1 is where the MVP is. 1 to 10 is the early traction and the early growth. And 10 to 100 is like a growth stage, right? I would say. The whole idea is the set of people who have been able to help you in 0 to 1 or 1 to 10 are not the ones who might always be able to help you with 10 to 100 journey.
Correct.
And I think so that's a different skill set altogether, of course, right? Like, and you should just merely focus on 0 to 1 skill set people when you are trying to build something from initial day 0.
So what about, let's say the gap of knowledge, if we were to talk about it. So one is having a skill that, somebody can learn things fast
Right.
and do things fast.
Right.
Second is also what is the universe of information I have? Because technology is such a vast field, so fast evolving, so many tools, open source projects, solutions come out every day. Right. So it's very difficult to keep up with everything that's happening.
Very true. Very true.
But the more we know, the better it is.
Absolutely.
So how did you face it in your journey from 0 to 1, 1 to 2 as you came?
Okay.
From the first developer to 6 developers.
Right.
So how did you find, the knowledge of your team, and did you ever feel that there could be more knowledge and there was a gap in knowledge?
Yes, of course. A lot of times. The whole idea was the set of team with a minimum constraint, minimum budget, what I had, the kind of whatever best possible team which we were able to build in the initial days was capable enough with respect to the knowledge what they had, was not capable enough to bring more knowledge to the table, right? There's a difference in that. And I feel, yes, these are few instrumental parts of how you keep ever-growing team. The growth comes from the ever-growing knowledge.
Correct.
Right? And that knowledge and availability of knowledge from the right set of sources is very important.
And very difficult.
Yes.
Very rare to find.
Very rare to find.
So effectively what you're talking about is, what every startup needs is definitely the first hackers to build it, right?
Yes.
But also somebody who's ideally speaking, who can bring the knowledge as a senior technical architect. Right? Who knows about the world of technology.
Yes.
Who has seen many things.
Cycles
and evolution
of things.
Right? Worked with different kind of teams.
Right.
And if the knowledge of such a person could be available to a team, that would be amazing.
Absolutely.
And I feel in today's time it's really possible because we are an online internet connected world. You can record, digitize stuff, and even AI can give solutions, right?
Totally.
So you could feed the mind of such a person into AI and the solution would work.
Totally.
That is very rare, to find like an architect.
Yes.
But if somebody could solve that problem, wouldn't that be great?
Absolutely.
Without really having that person, but the knowledge could be made available.
Yes.
That would be amazing.
Probably you exactly know that from the product standpoint, from the business standpoint, you're navigating from point A to point B. But from the tech standpoint, you exactly don't know how this navigation will work. There is no blueprint attached to it because the early stage developers who didn't had that level of exposure or has never seen that kind of evolution comes with that kind of experience will be 100% be able to give you the best result and approach and process. If that can be given by someone, is the best handholding which a lot of early stage companies will need in today's world to ship amazing products.
Yes, that is really there. And along with it, there's also this thing about, let's say, we talked about talent, the hurdle of talent. Then you also mentioned about your budget constraints. That was, you always had this budget, and for a startup, it is always not a lot of budget, right? So in this humble budget, you're trying to build everything. That's the second hurdle, attracting good talent in a humble budget. Right? Trying to fill the knowledge gap as much as possible in a humble budget.
Humble budget, very true.
So what about, how satisfied were you on your agility of your product development? So now given you had a humble budget, you had a young team, not a lot of experience in the team, right? And not a lot of knowledge about architecture and advanced technology. So how was your experience in, scaling your product, in the sense of scaling the features of your product? How fast were you in evolving your product?
Okay. No, a very good question, Ayush, right? And one of the very important parts which I have kept as one of the most important criteria as well, building the team, is the attitude and approach towards anything versus their truly just a skill set driven hiring, right? So I would always consider someone who brings that attitude and approach of hunger to build things faster, move things faster, hunger to learn new things, and being open about new things versus being rigid about the kind of skill set what you bring to the table, right? And this is where I think so. By far, whatever we had as a team, the humble team with the humble budget, was able to deliver based on that capability of agility. But if you compare it with actually an expectation what of a founder has, absolutely, like, we would always love to see if the agility would have been slightly more faster, quicker, we could have been at a different place today than where are we. Because startup is all about timing, right? Like, how fast you can move things.
Yes.
If you can't move things, you just become another corporate.
Correct.
That's one of the way to look at it. Right?
Yes, the situation may change anytime. You may
Anytime.
need to pivot your product,
Yes.
like it happened with Minco, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So, if you had the kind of technology, let's say, which would have allowed you to come out with a new product immediately,
Yes,
then you could have even thought of another pivot for your business.
very true.
right?
Totally.
So you could have continued doing something else altogether.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. I mean, that's why I say that, right? Like, the agility is one of the kind of team what you have, and the kind of cost are the most important thing, which really matters on the quality of tech what you will get at the end of the day.
So basically, can we say these are the three pillars of a good tech?
Yes.
Tech
yes,
business.
Yes, how
So how agile you are.
Yes, how agile your entire stack is and how fast you are able to move. Second is about the cost, of how much cost you are able to, because of course any startup doesn't have infinite budget on building tech, right?
And even an enterprise also wishes to keep its cost in an optimal check, right?
Yes, totally.
Nobody wants an inefficient machine.
Totally.
So second is cost, and of course there's the talent. So
Yes.
balance between the three is really important.
Right.
That's true. So what were your biggest lessons in this journey? Let's say this journey of phase one, when a startup is at an idea stage and it has to build the MVP, validate with the customers. Second stage is once you have a validated product offering, you want to scale it now. So for both of these two stages, what would be your biggest learnings that you would like to share?
I think so, like, again, being a very hardcore product person from day one, right? One of the things which I have gone through the learnings of my journey is today, whatever idea you might have to solve any specific problem, just try to test the waters first. And the only way to test the waters is initially figuring out what that first version of MVP will look like. Which are the set of beta customers or very early customers who will try the hands-on to that beta product or MVP, and what are the continuous loop of iteration and feedback which you're going to come up with, and your version 1 full-fledged product goes live, right? Like for those users, and when they start paying that product, right? Then the initial traction comes up, and then you see that there is an inflection point which is kicking in, and now you are moving into the stage 2, which is the scale-up stage of product, right? Now when you're scaling up, there are so many things which you have to consider with continuous iteration of feedback which you are getting from the users, to add new things, to change new things, to add more new features, layers, or whatever it is, right? All those things should also come up with the kind of ability to, make changes faster. Second is cost, and third is scalability attached to it, right? Like, when I say scalability also shouldn't have a lock-ins.
That would
right?
be
That
fourth
is
thing.
Yes, that will be the fourth thing, right? So first thing, in the stage 1 at least, from figuring out an idea to testing the waters to rolling out the MVP to building your first version, that whole journey can be covered with the ultra low cost budget. You don't need to hire any more team in 2023 when we are sitting in a world where you have OpenAI powering a lot of GPT tools around you, all the no-code solutions, all the low-code solutions powered with OpenAI's GPT solution into it, where you just write what you want and the no-code app is getting built for you, because we have moved even from that drag and drop and build no-code applications to something what you are just giving a prompt to the AI and AI is building the first version for you, right? That transition has definitely happened in the last couple of months, and I don't know at what speed we are going to see more changes coming up in these set of products, but that is amazing advantage all the founders has today to try the waters way faster, try their MVP way faster than what we took as a time back in 2017 to do that, right? And this is exactly something which if I really have to start something new in my future journey, I would absolutely consider using a no-code platform in the stage 1 or a low-code platform to ship this, test the waters, build the first MVP, build the first version of product with no continuous iteration, all those things. As soon as that is done, as the initial traction, PMF, product market fit is coming up, now you have to move up to the scale-up stage with further customizations, further scalability, all those things, when now you have considered building up the team because you don't want any further lock-in, you want actual tech to be controlled internally, a lot of things, because the moment we talk about low-code, no-code, there is a dependency on their platform. You can't actually have a lot of things because there are amazing no-code platforms like Bubble.io. I think so. Even like a Flutter Flow is there. Even there is something like OutSystems, which is a low-code platform. Wavemaker. Okay. Then there are a few more like this, right? But as you go ahead, there is a dependency which keeps on increasing on there. I'm not denying that these are not great systems. These are great systems to build internal business teams or till the apps which you want to only scale it to a limited extent. But when you know that you're building something which is going to explode in the stage 2, you always need to consider some sort of future-proof approach of how to do this. And the only way to do this is about, as on today's date, is building the most used framework like Node.js or maybe like React, Spring Boot. These things which will help you actually like ship a lot of things by getting these set of developers who will build it into it and then go ahead with it, right? So yeah, I would consider spending good amount of money for stage 2 and build stage 1 with lesser time and lesser money.
So basically there are some problems or some limitations, not problems, with the no-code and low-code solutions, popular ones as of today, which force founders to eventually leave those systems.
Agreed.
It could be the complex pricing model, it could be lack of performance or scalability,
Yes.
it could be lack of customizability,
Totally.
it could be lack of extensibility that you can add integrations,
Yes.
right? And then there's of course the dreaded lock-in also.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So then because of these reasons they cannot continue in their explosion stage, as you say,
Right.
with those tools.
Right.
So then they have to eventually migrate to something which they can really rely on for long term.
Right.
Right. That suddenly the cost will not spike up,
Right.
or I will not end up in a lock-in.
Right.
Right. And I can find enough talent. It is not difficult to find somebody who can use this solution,
Use this.
or developers who can build on top of it.
Totally.
So you keep all of those constraints in mind.
Totally.
And hence you recommend, in stage 2 it's better to go with something like Node.js or Spring Boot or a solution like
Right.
that.
Because the moment you reach stage 2, right, your whole way of looking at things and thinking about any decision making changes, because you suddenly start taking no-code platforms or low-code platforms which of course has achieved you in a meaningful way to fulfill the stage 1. In stage 2 you suddenly start considering them as a stopgap arrangement.
Correct.
Right? And the only reason for that is like the sheer capability of what you can do with the open source frameworks like Node.js, Django, Spring Boot, anything, whatever you want, like, right? Like,
So basically you hit limitations.
and
And lock-in and cost
Right. Very true.
concerns, right?
Very
So then you want to overcome the limitations.
Yes.
Now what if there was, let's say, Spring Boot made more low-code,
Okay.
right? And without any limitations,
Hmm.
without bringing any limitations, and also being an open source or a shared source software, source available software, and basically a solution which can scale as well, okay, and which is friendly cost-wise as well to the company. So then would you recommend continuing with a low-code version of Spring Boot and Node.js, same technologies, but made low-code?
Of course, why not? I mean, you are trying to build the best of the both worlds together. If this is an option available, any day I would consider picking up this stack. And I think so, as far as I know, like what you have been trying to build at Godspeed will definitely solve for this. And in my upcoming journey, will absolutely consider Godspeed as my primary go-to platform to build my products. Of course, this is not a sponsored video. This is not a promotional video at all.
Yes. Yeah, we even talked about we'll not discuss Godspeed. But yes, as in see, that's the spirit as well. You know, I myself being 14 years into tech, we face the same concerns as you were sharing, right? So therein, we need to address these problems for everybody, and yet there is yet to be a solution in the market, like a platform or frameworks, which sort of bring the best of both the worlds.
Right.
So now, you know, with the AI coming in, it's possible that AI is also kind of a no-code, low-code solution, because even if I generate my code in assembly language, for me I have given a prompt, right? AI can straight away even write assembly language.
Agree.
Correct? So for me, the generated code could be in assembly language, could be Node.js,
Right.
But I gave only a prompt and the software is running, right? A basic level at least. So therein what I feel is that even with the advent of AI always will need, you know, some level of customization and tweaking on top, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
It will interact and a person
Yes.
gives a feedback, and when you're building products, you know what you want.
Yes.
And therein now it's up to the prompter and how he prompts the software.
Yes.
Correct? Now if I go to OpenAI, you know, if two developers use OpenAI to generate the same app, their codes will look very different.
Very different. Absolutely.
Because of the way they are prompting.
Prompting.
And then, you know, the solution may end up having some problems in one solution, another problem in another solution.
Yes.
So that's where even if Node.js framework, there could be a low-code plugin or a module on top of it, which sort of abstracts the developer's work.
Agree.
Right? So he only deals in the fourth generation abstractions now. So
Got it.
assembly language is like a second generation, right? Then JavaScript is third generation language. And let's say there's a fourth generation language which we tried to build. And that really reduces the developer's effort. You know, they just don't need to do plumbing of software anymore. Scaling issues are taken care for. All you need to do is configure the system, is to tell the system what to do in very less words. So that's where there is a certain need of a standardization that needs to be brought in with these abstractions, right? And so not just about Godspeed, but whichever frameworks come out in the market, if low code has to get adopted, I really believe it has to overcome the hurdles we discussed. Low code companies out there, all the low code companies, including Godspeed, all of us, what we need is to help founders overcome the hurdle of rigidity, of being a black box which is not customizable, of lock-ins with our product, our solution, and also the cost issues, the high budget problems that companies face. Right from early stage, even enterprise wants to keep costs in check, right? So, and at the same time giving the developer full power to do whatever they want.
Very true, very true. Right.
So that's where if AI is to prompt and use these low-code solutions which fit all these criteria, then we would have some standardized product development happening across an organization. Your first microservice, second microservice, 50th microservice will all look the same.
Saving so much amount of time and building much higher capabilities for any developer who uses.
And for any new developer coming in is very easy. For a developer to switch projects is very easy.
Very easy.
The coupling of developer with projects is taken away then. So,
got it. No, totally. I mean, this is something where we see the world is transitioning towards more human language versus all the coding language.
Yes, higher level language.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So now, in order to conclude, so let's move towards the conclusion as well. So Sanket, before signing off from this wonderful episode together, what would be your last parting message to all the founders who are listening to you right now? And what advice would you give to them, for all the founders who are building tech products or who have dreams to build amazing scalable tech products, both B2B, B2C?
So again, I mean, I would absolutely respect the courage what every founder should have of taking a plunge into starting something of their own, and really ask them to just focus on what their user wants, right? Like focus on what and forget about how, right? And if you have how to build that experience or deliver that experience in much more meaningful way with all the newer platforms or new age platforms like low code platforms which I spoke about, to deliver that kind of experience, what experience you want to build, just focus on that and let that how be figured out by the new age platforms which are built on top of abstraction layers or OpenAI kind of powered platforms, right? Like just allow them to do that magic, and then you just focus on what, so that the kind of journey what other founders has previously gone through of even figuring out how, you save on all that time.
Correct.
To figuring out more what's
Yes.
for that end user.
Yes.
And that is something what we all should target
Yes.
focusing on. And
Exactly.
grow fast
Yes.
and fail fast.
Feel fast,
Right.
yes.
Yes.
Figure out the whys and the whats.
Absolutely. Whys and the whats and how, let it be figured out with the new age platforms and
Correct.
new age OpenAI powered solutions.
Yes, and which is the future as I see
Yes,
also.
absolutely.
So there will be, I believe, many more entrepreneurs coming forward because
Yes.
there is a democratization of technology which is happening.
Which is happening. You are absolutely getting way more powerful tools, which, I mean, if you would have asked like 2-3 decades ago, only supercomputer would have, right? I mean, that is something being changed completely.
Well, there are still this kind of supercomputers powering the big AI solutions we are using.
I mean, you don't feel like today.
But very nice catching up with you,
Right,
Sanket.
right.
Thank you
It
so
wa- it-
much.
It was really amazing, Ayush, talking to you and understanding the sustainability approach of running this place. And I would absolutely recommend all the founders who are really trying to build something awesome should visit this place once and meet Ayush. And he's such a gem of a person to handle so many founders without having any kind of like vested interest towards helping you out. He has done so with multiple founders before, and that is where I would vouch for what he is building. Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Yes, and if you come, then we can also sit like this and
Yes.
have a conversation. You're welcome to join the conversations. Godspeed, Lightning Talks. Wonderful second episode with my beautiful and cheerful friend Sanket. And Sanket, I give you best wishes for your
Thank you.
next
Thank
journey
you, Ayush.
forward. Yeah,
Yes.
do well.
Yes.
And thank you very much for
Thank
tuning
you.
in as well.